In this quick video guide, I'm going to show you how to add a progress bar to your book pages. On my book pages, I always like to add some animation just to bring stuff in at different times and make it a little bit more interesting to users than just here's a page of text. So here I've got a very simple example of a theoretical three-step process, and I want to introduce stuff one step at a time. I'll preview it here to show you what's happening. So I've got the introductory sentence, introduce step 1, introduce step 2, then introduce step 3, and then after a brief pause, add a final sentence in there to explain something else. And it's that final sentence that's kind of caused me this problem, in that users don't always know when the animation's finished. So maybe at the end of step 3, they'll think, okay, it's done, and they'll go on to the next book page. Or they, see that something else comes in at the bottom, and then there's still half a screen with a space here. Is anything else going to come in or not? So what I want to do is provide a progress bar that shows them when it's okay to go to the next page. And in theory, you could maybe do this by hiding the next button, if you added your own next button to it, and then showing it when the animation's finished. But I like this way, it's a bit more elegant, and it matches other applications a little bit better. So I'm going to add the progress bar to this, but instead of adding it just to this particular book page, I'm going to add it to my template because I want to be able to use it in a bunch of other book pages when I develop them, or maybe book pages I have already got developed using this template. So if I look at this, I can see that my template is standard slide. So I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go to my standard slide template and open that. And this is where I'm going to put my my progress bar. Now, note here that the page size is 1024 by 672, which is a bit of an odd one, but it's actually based on one of SAP's standard ones. They leave a bit of space for the book reader toolbar and stuff like that, or the control bar. So I'm going to leave it as that size at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few elements to this to form my progress bar. I'm going to add a rectangle that I'm going to put right on the bottom of the screen. And I looked at a few different places to put this in different ways of doing it, whether have like a countdown timer or whatever. But this seemed like the most elegant and inobtrusive way of doing this. Now I want this bar to be all the way along the bottom. I have nothing else in there because that's my footer. And I want it as small as I can get it. Now the smallest I can drag it here is still basically going to be 6 pixels high. I don't really want it to be 6 pixels high. I'm going to put it down to 4 pixels because that's really fairly small. But it's still obvious to look at. So I'm going to drop this down to 4 pixels. Because of that, I need to increase where it is from the top to 668. And now it's right on the bottom. It's got 4 pixels. I don't want a border on it. So I'm going to set the border to 0. And I'm going to actually use a light blue color for this. This is going to be the track when the before playback has started. So, where, stuff we've not seen yet. So I'm going to set this to a nice light blue. So let me just drag it up to say something like this. I'll set that to a nice light blue. Border color doesn't matter because we're not going to use it. So that's going to be, effectively, that's going to be my duration. So I'm going to actually call that because it's always a good thing to give suitable names to all of your objects so you can find them later. I'm going to call this the duration, because that's how long it's going to last. Now, I want another one of these, exactly the same, so I'm just going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it, and that's pasted on there. Now I've got duration 1, but this one I'm going to call, let's see, elapse. Okay, so that's how much time's elapsed. Now this one, I actually want it to start pretty much at 0. So the size of it, the width, I actually want to be down at 0. It won't actually let me put it at 0. So I'm going to put it at 1, which you're not really going to see anyway. And I'm going to set the color of this to be my dark blue. So I'm going to set this to be a much darker blue, say like this. Let's go with this color then. Okay, just so you can see what's happening. So that's right down the bottom there. Now, what I want to do is I basically want this shape here to look like it's progressing across the screen. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to add an animation object. This object I'm going to put into where I want that one I'm going to stretch out my elapsed time. I'm going to put that right where this should finish. So again, it's going to be full width across here, and I'm going to drop it all the way down to be 4 pixels wide. Now, if you're not familiar with animation objects, you have to tell it what you want to animate. This shape that I just put on here, which is kind of like shaded in light blue by default, this is where that object that you select is going to finish up. And the object I want it to act on is my one that I've called elapsed. Okay, so that is what's going to drag across there. And now I need to tell it how long it should take to do that. So say I want my slide to display for 5 seconds. I'm going to put 5 in here. Okay, so now that bar should progress across there for 5 full seconds. So the next thing I need to do is I need to kick off this animation to actually progress. And this is the thing that most people forget when they do an animation. Something's got to trigger it. And in this case, I want it to be triggered when the page loads. So I'm going to go back to my page object, either by clicking here or by clicking anywhere outside of there. And I'm going to go down to my actions and say, when the page is loaded, I want to start my animation. And I've not given that a good name, which I probably should. And I'm going to call that progress, because that's going to show me where we're progressing to. So now on my book page, you notice it changes. As soon as I change the name of the object, it updates it here as well, because in the background, it's really referring to its UID, which is unique. So here, as soon as I start this, that progress animation is going to start. So if I go and preview this now, you can see I've now got, as if by magic, my progress bar going across the bottom that's going to last 5 seconds. So far, so good. I'm going to do a couple of other things just to tidy this up, because this is into the template, and I want to use it in book pages that may not yet have, any timing set up in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these things in a group. I'm going to group them all here. Group object, and I'm going to call this group my progress bar. Now, a good reason for doing this is that I can basically hide that entire group. Okay, so if I've got a book page that's already based on this template, it's not going to appear on that book page because I've not built in that functionality for it yet. The other thing that I'm going to do is this progress, I'm going to set the duration down to 0.01, which is the smallest amount of time I can give it and for it to still take effect. What that's going to do is effectively, if I display this, but leave it at 0.01, what's going to happen is it's immediately going to show blue all the way across there, like it's completely finished already. And the reason I want to be able to do that is because some pages, they're not going to have any animation on them, but maybe I still want that bar across the bottom, because if it's on some pages with animation, but then suddenly it's not on other pages, users might be thinking, well, where's the bar? Has it not started yet? Has something broken? So sometimes you might want to just have that bar filled out all the way, and this will let you do that, okay? So I've now got my group in here. I can move it down maybe if I want to keep it out of the way of where I'm going to put my content. So I'm going to actually drop it right here at the bottom, just so it's out the way. But bear in mind, if you've got a full page image, you want to bring this above that. Okay, so now we're done with this. So let's go and add it into a book page. So I'm going to save that. We're all done. Go back to my book page now. And the good thing about using templates, and again, this is a book page that has a subtype of book page template. What that means is any changes I make to this template will automatically be reflected in any book page that uses that template. So if I now go back into my book page, you can see that I have this progress bar in there. By default, it is not enabled because, again, we may have book pages that we're not going to set up to use this or haven't already. But for this one, I do want it. So I'm going to display it. The only other thing I need to do is I need to see how long this is going to take to go through everything, which is basically 10 seconds to display that final line. And then let's give them 2 seconds to read that. So let's say it should be 12 seconds and they're done with this slide. So now all I need to do is go to my progress animation object, and I'm going to set my duration of that to be 12 seconds. And now what we're going to get is when I preview this book page, It's going to introduce everything, and you can see that the progress bar is going across the bottom as it's introducing stuff, and then they see it's still going. There's the last bit of text 2 seconds later, and it stops, and they know they can progress to the next page. So all good, and that is pretty much as easy as it gets. So that's a nice, effective progress bar. Again, add it to the template. It will automatically be in all of your book pages then. Just remember that you need to basically switch it on or make it visible, and you need to set the time in the progress field. And in fact, what I probably should have done, I'm going to close it out and save it because that's looking good now. One last thing, back in my template, I should have probably changed this to give some guidance to my authors to say set duration in progress animation object, and then they'll know that that's what they have to do. And that's it. Okay, so nice and easy, but it's a fairly effective thing, and your users will probably appreciate it. Okay, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.